Oh boy, the voices in our heads. And I'm not talking about our characters either. Hello, my darlings. I'm here today to talk to you guys about those voices in our heads, the ones that aren't ours, and how we unlearn the nasty things that they've told us. So let's get started. We all have those voices in our head that don't belong to us. We all do. I mean, where do they come from? Well, I mean, it could be your mother, your father, your ex. It could be people in general. It could be society. Society tells us a lot of things about ourselves that aren't true. And society as a whole has tried to control people forever. So what do you do when that voice in your head takes over and starts crushing your dreams? Well, first, let's talk about why it's so detrimental. It does crush your dreams. It absolutely can. When you've constantly got that voice in the back of your head telling you, you're not enough. You'll never do this. Nobody's going to read that book. What are you talking about? You'll never be Stephen King. I mean, we all hear these, and it's usually coming from someone or something that wants to keep us in our place, or the place that they think we should be. It's so detrimental, not just to your dreams, but to your emotional well-being and your physical body. When you have a constant nattering in your head, you're not enough, you're not enough, you're not enough, you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not skinny enough, you're not enough of anything. That brings our fight or flight mode in. Our bodies will start to react to that. Tense muscles, headaches, migraines, overeating, undereating, stomach problems. Stress does horrible things to our body. Anxiety. Anxiety is literally a killer. It can kill you. It has been proven to raise cortisol in your body, which leads to all kinds of nastiness inside your body. Folks, it's very important for you to silence these voices for your physical health, for your mental health, for your dreams. How are you supposed to get your book finished if your ex, your mother, your neighbor down the street, they're all nattering in your head, telling you you're not enough, you'll never do it, who do you think you are, why do you think you're so important that anybody would want to read your book? The self-doubt that can cause, insane. We all go through it. And there are times, I know for myself personally, when I thought that I was suffering from writer's block, but it wasn't writer's block. It was self-doubt. It was the voice in my head, me hearing that I'm not good enough of a writer, that I'll never make it, I'll never be able to do it for a living. In my head, stunting and stopping my creativity. You know what I'm talking about, or you wouldn't be watching this video, I'm guessing. So what can you do when those voices start to take over? One thing that I learned early on, and I learned this from Tony Robbins, who someday I would very much like to shake his hand and let the man know how he saved my life when I was 20 years old. That's a whole nother story. One thing I learned from Tony Robbins is the power of a physical action to interrupt invasive thoughts. He always did an exercise where he would start to have these invasive thoughts, or he would just want to change his mood or change the way he was thinking about something. And he would spring up from his chair, throw his arms over his head, and yell. Now, if anybody has watched like behind the scenes stuff for Tony Robbins, they see him doing this kind of stuff, the bouncing and the pounding his chest and the spinning around. That's all interrupters, as I like to call them. When that voice starts, "You're not enough, you'll never make it," try a physical reaction or a verbal reaction if you're in a place where you can't spring up out of your chair, even if it's just a whisper of, "No, not now, not this time." If you can, yell it, "No, not now, not this time." Put some physicality into it. Try that. And I promise you that if you keep using it, it is going to work. This is something that I personally have been doing for decades. When I want to stop myself from a certain train of thought, verbal, physical reactions to the thought, give it a try. I'd be really curious to know how it works for you. So please make sure you're coming back and leaving comments down there to let me know if any of these things work for you. If that voice is always the same person, let's say it's your ex, and you're constantly hearing their voice telling you you're not good enough, write a letter to them. Whether you're writing the letter to forgive them for being such a jerk, or maybe you're not. Maybe you're putting them on blast. I am a big fan of writing a letter to your ex and putting them on full blast, because sometimes forgiveness just isn't going to happen. If you're not there in your journey of forgiving the person whose voice is in your head, don't try to force yourself. Please don't try to force yourself. Write an angry letter. Put them on blast. Tell them, "I'm so mad at you. I'm so mad at you for making me think these things." And end it with, "You don't get to do this anymore." Okay? And then there's things you can do with that letter. A lot of people suggest burning it, ripping it up into little pieces and tossing it to the wind. I'm not a fan of that because, litter. But burning it is good. If you own your own property, burying it is another thing. But burning is always good, so long as you're not like setting off smoke alarms or anything. But that's another technique that you can try to silence those voices in your head. If you have daily or multiple times a day with these intrusive thoughts, try keeping a small notebook close to you and picking it up when that intrusive thought's going, even just right across the page, big slashing letters, "No." Close the book, slam it down. That's it. They don't get any more of your time. Those intrusive thoughts, that person who put them there, no, slam it shut, out of your way, because you have things to do. Again, it's an interrupter. Now, distraction and redirection is something that a lot of therapists, which I am not, like to use. Things like picking up something and concentrating on the feel of it. I keep several things like this at my desk for anxiety purposes. I have my little squishy guy that I play with. And, if that works for you, absolutely. Again, it is a way to interrupt the thought if you have to put all of your brain power into feeling his little tail or, something like that. But I am a really big proponent of interrupters. Whatever works for you, try them all, but try them and give it some time to see what works best. Don't just try it once and be all like, "Oh, that didn't work," because these things take practice. You've had all of these years of living with those intrusive thoughts, living with someone else's voice. You're not going to fix this overnight. It's not going to happen. Now, journaling is another one. I'm not going to get into that. We're writers. We know journaling, right? The only suggestion that I would make is, if you're journaling your thoughts and feelings, don't just vomit onto the page about how angry you are or how it's stopping you and how depressed you are and all this sort of thing without trying to find a way through. Okay. Because then it just becomes a loop back to these thoughts without counteracting it with something positive. Okay. So, what can you replace it with? What is something you can counteract with? Vision boards are one thing. I know for those of you who have taken Sarah Cannon's HB90 course, that's one thing that we always do at the beginning of every quarter is we make our vision board. You can have a vision board. If you don't already have one, I strongly suggest that you make one. Think about your ideal life. What's it going to look like when you get that book written? It doesn't have to be 10 years in the future. It can be 6 months from now that you're still writing the book, but you no longer have these intrusive thoughts. How does that make you feel? What does that look like to you? But the big thing about vision boards is a lot of people make their vision board. They do it, on their computer, or they put it in their planner and they put it away and then they never look at it again. So what I'm asking you to do is have your vision board somewhere where you can see it multiple times a day, and also somewhere where you can move it around, because if you're looking at it multiple times a day, after a while, it just becomes background noise. If you're not in a situation where you can frame that thing and put it on the wall, find a place to put it somewhere. Put it on your phone, maybe as your phone background or something like that. I have a small vision board in my closet. So when I open my closet door, the first thing I see is that vision board every single day. At least once a day, I'm seeing that vision board. Another thing you can do is sit down and write out, and for those of you who have taken my Finding Your Balance workshop will be familiar with this, your why, as in, why am I doing this? Why do I want to write? Why do I want to create? Why do I want to get rid of these voices in my head? As well as importantly, if not more importantly, is your why not? So what are you not willing to put up with anymore? What are you not going to do and allow those things to keep resonating in your head? Your why and your why not. Back in the day, I had a therapist who was helping me heal from a very, very abusive relationship. And I wasn't there yet. I wasn't able to think of the things that I wanted to do for myself. So she had me think in terms not so much of I deserve this, because I just couldn't, but that I would do these things to move my life forward in spite of the people who were trying to hold me down. Now, that is not sustainable by any stretch of the imagination. But if you think about it in terms of, say, addiction, sometimes when an addict first gets sober, they don't do it for themselves. They do it for their family. They do it for their children. So long as they have that something that gets them up and gets them through the day without taking a drink or whatever. So the in spite of list, and it could be filled of those people that are filling your head full of these negative thoughts. You're going to do these things in spite of them, in spite of what they've told you can't do. Okay. But again, please be careful with that if you're going to use it. Remember, it is not sustainable. It is not sustainable. It's a lot of negativity that if you are so deep into self-criticism, because there's no such thing as self-criticism. We were not born criticizing ourselves. criticism comes from the outside and we absorb it. Okay. But if you cannot find another way, if nothing else is working, that is a place to start. But please, please don't think of it as something that you're going to keep doing. Okay. Visual triggers, again, are really good. It doesn't necessarily have to be a vision board. If you're just not a vision board person, a lot of people, myself included, pick a word every year to kind of set the tone for our planning and where we want to be and how we want to show up in the world. My word for 2023 is purpose. And this is part of my purpose, to bring my personal experience to you, my educational experience to you, to help people grow and evolve. That's my purpose. So even if picking a word that you can put on the lock screen of your phone, that you can just write it on a sticky note and stick it to your computer monitor, when the invasive thoughts start, there's your word. Okay. Again, you're interrupting it. It's an interrupter. Phone wallpaper is one of my favorites. You can go on Canva and you can make wallpaper for your phone, email it to yourself. There you go. And it's nice to see every time I turn on my phone after I swipe through the picture of my little great nephew, I see my little, affirmation that I put on there and my word of the year, purpose. So something like that. Again, if you're anything like me, like a lot of people, you've constantly got your phone in your hand. So that's always a really good help. Another way to help get past all of this negativity that other people have filled your head with is community. It's hard sometimes if you have been the type of person who has been in abusive relationships and, your head is so full of so many other people's voices telling you that you're not worth it. It's hard to trust people. But one thing I find is, as writers, a lot of us seem to congregate online, and we belong to these wonderful little communities. Like, for instance, the Heart Breathings community Sarah Cannon started that I belong to. I don't think I could get through the day. I wouldn't be sitting here doing this video right now were it not for Sarah Cannon and the Heart Breathings group. Would not be doing it, would not have had the self-confidence to put myself in front of a camera and talk about these things. And so finding community, even online, is a really good place to be, but be careful, because some online groups, there can be a lot of negativity. And while you may start out with negativity as a way to push you into action, does not mean that you should stay there. Okay. So just be careful when it comes to that sort of thing. And for those of you who know me, know that I love therapy. I love it. I think, and I've said this before, and I will say it again every chance I get, I think we should treat therapy the way we treat going to the dentist or going to the doctor. It should be something we do on a regular basis to keep ourselves level, to keep these things from creeping back in, to know that the work that we're doing is actually helping. And then we also have a trained professional who can help us if it's not. So if you have the ability to go to therapy, because I know not everybody can afford it, and not everybody like me lives in a country where mental health, aid for mental health is free. But if you have the ability to get into therapy, even if it's you just going once a month, please do it. We need to normalize this. We need to normalize going to therapy the way we go to the dentist. It's preventative. Okay. So please, please do that. There's also a lot of really good books out there for helping us break this cycle of negativity that fills our heads from generational trauma or just society in general. Societal rules, I think, have a much bigger impact on us than we think it does. And there is one book in particular, and I will put a link down here below, that changed the game for me. It's called Code of the Extraordinary Mind by Vishen Lakhiani. Now, Vishen Lakhiani is the CEO and co-founder of Mind Valley. I'll put a link down to Mind Valley as well. They offer a lot of free masterclasses in self-help. They are the largest self-help company in the world. And I was privileged to receive an advanced reader copy of Code of the Extraordinary Mind when Vishen first wrote it. And I have read through it a couple of times, and every time I read through it, I learn something new. So check out your local library, because they probably have it. The book is a few years old. If you are not in a position to purchase it, either ebook or hard copy. But start consuming that positive, those positive books. Start going and doing a master class with Mind Valley. They're like an hour long and they're free, and they're, and start replacing that negative chatter in your head that doesn't even belong to you, sweetheart. That's not your voice. That's not your voice. And those people, they don't get to live in your head rent-free. We've all heard that saying, but you know what is so true? It's so true. You do not deserve to have someone else's voice. And gosh, it might be somebody that's not even alive anymore. If it's like your parents or something, you don't deserve to be stopped from living your dream by somebody else's insecurities, because that's exactly what it is. They are trying to keep you where they are because that's where they're comfortable. All right? You're so much better than that. You deserve so much more than that. You've got books to write. You have art to create. You have a life to live. And they don't get a say. They don't get a say. Please take the first small steps, even if it's something as simple as writing that letter to them to tell them that they don't have a say anymore. They don't. Write the letter. Go to therapy. Go for a walk in nature if that's what helps. Like, do something to move yourself forward to help stop those invasive thoughts. You've got so much living to do. You've got so much life to live. I'm telling you, if you start, all you need to do is start. And leave comments down below, please. Let's start a conversation. Reach out to me if you're struggling. I am more than happy to help. As I have said, and I will put a disclaimer at the beginning of this video as well, I am not a registered therapist. I am a registered life coach. I do have an education with a psychology background as a child and youth care support worker with heavy learning and addictions. I have been there, done that, and I'm still working on myself. So please reach out if you feel like you need somebody to listen. Reach out to your writing friends. If you are struggling, ask for help. Ask for help. We are all here on this planet together, and none of us are getting out of this alive. We might as well be there for each other. Okay? I love you all so much. Thank you so much for sitting with me for the last 25 minutes and listening to me ramble. There will be more videos like this coming up. I promise there's going to be lots of videos on my channel this quarter. So if you have any ideas, hit up my website. Link is down below, and there's a page there where you can suggest videos, anything you would like to hear. Love you all so, so much. Please take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you soon. Love you. Bye.